Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. In this video we'll be seeing what are the latest React 19.2 features. So we'll go through each one of them and see how it is used. So the first feature we'll be seeing is the activity feature. So activity feature is basically used for conditional rendering of a component. So whenever you want to hide or show the component, this can be used. So hiding means you are actually hiding the content and you are just unmounting it, but you will have access to the state and props. And visible is just the reverse, it will mount the component. So the main advantage is whenever you want to scroll to a different page or navigate to a different screen, all the state and props will be preserved. So let's see how it is used. So this is an example, like if you see the activity API is having two modes like visible or hidden. So based on the flag is displayed, you can actually hide or show the component. So earlier we used to have the variable check and you have to append the component, but the main disadvantage is you will be losing the state and the props. But the activity feature will enable you to access the latest state and the props. So that is the main advantage of the activity tag. So let's move to the next feature. So the next feature is the use effect event. So use effect event is basically used in those scenarios where you want to connect to an external event, and if you want to show some notification, you can actually segregate it from the use event, which is normally used for fetching functionality. So let's see how it is used. So this is an example of how it is used. So basically you are moving the use effect event and you are the functionality and you are calling it from the use effect. So use effect, as you can see, is mainly used for fetching the data. The main advantage of use effect event is it is basically a stable function which will always have the access to the latest state. So whenever the use effect is having dependencies, it will always rerun whenever those dependencies change. So whenever you use the use effect event, you ideally want to keep the dependencies array as empty so that the use effect re-rendering does not happen. Ideally, the use effect event will be used for having access to the latest state. So that will solve the problem of re-rendering, which normally happens in the case of use effect, which will always re-render whenever dependencies change, and sometimes it will have access to some old values. So this is resolved by using the use effect event. So this is the main advantage. So let's move to the next feature. The next feature is called the cache signal. So cache signal is basically used whenever you want to cache the results of the response. Cache signal can be used to either abort or you can actually do some cleanup action whenever you want to discard the cache results. So that is the main advantage of using the cache signal. So the way it is used is it is having something called an abort signal, which can be used to check whether the caching operation is no longer required. You can discard the results. This basically happens mainly when you are caching the results of the response, and you can do some cleanup action. So that is the main advantage of the cache signal. So that is the new feature which has been used along with the cache functionality. So let's move to the next feature. So the next feature is the custom tracks, which has been newly introduced. So these tracks are available in the DevTools extension. So it is having some new components, like new tabs like scheduler and components. And scheduler, as you can see, it will be used to show when the update was blocked and all the interactions with the components and all the scheduling information. And similarly, components is used for showing the status as whether the component is mount or blocked. And mainly these features are used for performance issues and troubleshooting purpose. So this has been shown as in the screenshot, as you can see. So you can see that two components are displayed, the scheduler and components. So this is mainly used for troubleshooting and performance issue tracking. So you can identify performance issues with the components and you can find the states of the components. It's useful for debugging the application. So let's move to the next feature. So the next feature is called the partial pre-rendering. So what is partial pre-rendering? Partial pre-rendering is used whenever you want to display both static and dynamic content. So there are scenarios where you want to send static content immediately to the client. So this partial pre-rendering is used in those scenarios where you can send the static content immediately, and dynamic content is basically any asynchronous call, any suspense functionality. So that is basically it's a long running process. So whenever the content is available, you can send it as and when it completes. So this is a new feature. So let's see an example of this. So in this example, you can see that we are having both the static and dynamic content. So again, this abort controller is basically it's used for, you can actually check when you want to send the static content, and you can write that static content. So this is basically a signal. You are basically using that controller.signal to indicate the static content has to be sent. And finally, you can actually, whenever the dynamic content is available, you are just writing it out. So dynamic content is basically an asynchronous operation. So this is available. This is how it is written actually. You have to implement using the partial pre-rendering API. So the next feature is the batched suspense boundaries for SSR. So the main advantage of using this feature is you can actually delay rendering multiple suspense content to provide the complete content in case of any animation. So earlier when you're using the suspense feature, if the content is not available, you're basically using a fallback component. But in this case, if you have multiple suspense components, the React will handle the batching of these suspense components after a certain period of time, which is predefined, and will group all these suspense component and the content of these suspense components so that it will be more meaningful to the client. So this is ideal in the case of basically a view transition component or any animation component or animation scenario. So this will be useful for that. So let's move to the next feature. So the next feature is web streams. So web stream, the basic idea is you are actually sending the information in chunks of HTML. So again, this is mainly used for asynchronous operations, where you want to send the data whenever it is available. So this web stream functionality is implemented in Node. So we are having different methods for that. So as you can see, we have different methods which is compatible with web streams, like render to readable stream, pre-render. So again, this is an extension of that pre-rendering, partial pre-rendering which we saw earlier. And we have something called as resume and pre-render. So these are all used for asynchronous operations. So pre-render means whenever you want to render it instantly, you go for pre-rendering functionality. Resume and pre-render is basically you are actually pre-rendered some content, but you want to resume that content after when the response is available. So the resume and pre-rendered takes care of that functionality. So these are now available in Node.js. So let's move to the next function. So the other changes have been introduced, like ESLint plugin, which is basically a code analysis tool. The version has been changed to V6, and the default user ID has been changed to .r2, like _r_, mainly used for avoiding user ID correlations. So that's it for this video. So this is a high-level overview of the React 19.2 features. Hope you like this video. If you do like, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.